What changed was it was a life circumstance. I had reached bandwidth issues. I knew I needed to scale, and the pain of missing stuff at home with my family and disappointing my wife was kind of the catalyst for me to, bite the bullet and say, all right, I'm gonna, make a pretty scary decision here to pivot my entire business and go all in on YouTube.
Welcome to the Cheplak Live podcast, where I sit down only with proven, tested business operators from the real estate industry and take you behind the curtain of their journey, but more importantly, some specific strategies and tactics that you can use immediately for your business. And today I'm with Ferris, who had a 400% increase in sales volume 2022 versus 2023 in what we know was a down market. Tyler, thanks for being here, bud.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
So let's go to the real quick question, because I mean, backstories are important, but what's more important with anyone, but especially a guy like you that's done something really remarkable that anyone can do if they apply themselves, not minimizing you. We want to get into the deep parts of that, but talk about just real quickly, what brought you into the real estate industry?
I was actually working for a small family office. I'd studied finance in college, was working for an investor. He had done real estate previously, not residential, but anyways, it was kind of my time to go off, spread my wings and start something. And my family had always owned real estate, so I thought it would be a good idea to start a brokerage with no experience even selling homes. And so I actually took a good chunk of cash from him to go start a brokerage with a business partner. And we just kind of dove head first. And I had about a year and a half, learning curve doing that in Austin when I was 24 and had a man bun and had no clue how the world really worked.
Really? That's we haven't talked about that. We'll have to talk about that one another.
Motorcycles, man buns, just living it up in Austin, John.
You fit right in. Awesome. So talk about your first year. What did you do to generate business your first year in the business? And did you do any business? Were you someone that came in and you just soared out of the gates, or was it, I might need to find another job?
I racked up $18,000 in credit card debt in the first 6 months with zero sales, and then I had 4 closings. I made $24,000 that month of June, and blew my mind. I was like, you can make that much money in 1 month. Paid off all my debt and really never looked back. I made $87,000 my first year in real estate. I will say I had a significant advantage since we were starting that brokerage. I had my business partner who taught me how to prospect. So we had data and we'd cold call every morning for 1.5, 2 hours for a year and a half. So got good at scripting. And then we also had Zillow at the time. And so I felt like an uphill battle, having no confidence at 24. I had to go get a haircut, like I said, and figure it out. But it was a good learning experience for me. Obviously, looking back, knowing what I know now, probably would do it different. But I don't know. I felt pretty good about what I was able to do. And once I realized that, I just knew it was all up from there.
So finishing 2023, how many years have you been in the real estate business now?
8 years, yeah. So I think I got licensed. I think I just finished my 8th year.
Okay.
So going in.
What was the biggest discovery that you had that really took your business to the next level?
This year,
2022.
Well, I think I ran into a spot where I had 2 or 3 really good years selling about 50 homes, making what I would consider great money at 29 years old, making $500,000. I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. What changed though was I had our daughter during COVID. The world had shut down. We were kind of locked into the house, and that's actually, I built my business through that. The market here in Texas started to go crazy. So I just kind of put my head down, but I reached bandwidth issues essentially, where I was running into, I had scaled as much as I felt like I could without coaching or anything as an independent agent. And I was a lone wolf. So after I had started that brokerage a year and a half in, I didn't agree with my business partner. And so we went our separate ways. And so that really set me on a journey to just becoming good at real estate on my own. And I was never part of a team. I was never part of a team structure after that. I never did, I've never paid for leads. I never did any paid marketing, no mailers, no nothing. I was that kind of weird freak agent that just through my sphere and friends and family, I was able to, move back to my hometown, sell 50 homes a year, make a good living, become, pretty popular amongst my friend group and solidify myself as an expert. And so anyways, to answer your question, I got to a point in my business about 2 years ago where usually this time every year rolls around and I'd have my best year ever, and then I'd have panic attacks. I'd start freaking out. And it's funny to laugh at, but realistically, like debilitating, true panic attacks where I was just having, I'm a pretty competitive person, and it would just hit me like, oh my goodness, I have to replicate this next year. And because none of my lead sources were predictable, I had to rely on people just calling me. And luckily, for a couple years in a row, like I said, I'd have 50 home sales a year. It would always work out, but I didn't have that confidence that it was going to happen because I didn't really have a system for it to happen. It just happened for me, and so I knew I needed a system. And so anyways, I looked around and said, look, how can I do something where I'm not the engine? How can I do something where at 11 p.m. at night, I'm not the one putting out the fires? How can I do something where if I get a text at 6 and my wife needs help with the kids, or we're in the middle of family dinner, I'm not leaving her on her own with a screaming child saying, good luck, that's your job. I got to go do mine. And anyways, it led me to discover YouTube. And I had known some guys that were doing it at what I thought was a pretty high level. At first, I didn't really believe the results I was hearing that other people were having with YouTube. But I had a really good friend who was a client who kept encouraging me to do it. And anyways, once I looked into it, I go, man, this is right up my alley. I think this is exactly what I need to do to scale. So that's the answer to your question, John, is what changed was it was a life circumstance. I had reached bandwidth issues. I knew I needed to scale. And the pain of missing stuff at home with my family and disappointing my wife was kind of the catalyst for me to, bite the bullet and say, all right, I'm going to, make a pretty scary decision here to pivot my entire business and go all in on YouTube.
So let me ask you this, and I've been fortunate to get to know you over 2 years now. Has it been?
Yeah, right at 2
Yeah,
for
and see,
operations playbook.
yeah, see your commitment and showing up. Let me ask you this: was there a time when you looked at video? Were you one of those that were just like, okay, cool, I do video, or was there some self-consciousness that you had, some fear as far as getting on video? Talk through that, because we all know that is the most powerful vehicle. I mean, everyone would admit it. Those that wouldn't, they just don't admit it because then they don't want to have the pressure. Did you go through anything like that psychologically before you jumped into video?
I think, of course, right? Anything you're not comfortable with is it's uncomfortable. You haven't done it. I don't, I would be more nervous to answer your question directly, if I closed the room up and no one was in the room, I was pretty comfortable turning on the camera. What was uncomfortable was watching it afterwards. That was uncomfortable. And that's when I was like, oh gosh. I think and I've said this before, I think the pain of not doing it just became so great that I had to do it. Once again, like I said, I mean, for me, it was a personal deal, but I knew if I didn't do it, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And that's where I was at. I had 2 or 3 years of reaching my capacity, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to grow in my business if nothing changed. And for my personality type, for my goals, what I wanted to accomplish, I knew I had to be on video. So we just had our Christmas party, with all of our agents and their spouses, and I was really nervous because my director of operations was loading a TV up, and I was like, we don't need a TV there. And he's like, oh, I'm just bringing. I was like, I knew he was up to something, which meant I knew our videographer made a reel or a montage that was going to embarrass me in front of everybody. And sure enough, Keith put together this video that it could have only been worse from all of our bloopers. He made me look pretty good. But anyways, watching that first video back, I mean, I cringed, and he drug it out in front of everybody. It was brutal. I wasn't good, and I don't expect you'd be good at anything your first time. If you go play golf, which I love golf, like good luck being good your first time. You're not gonna be. It's gonna be embarrassing, but it's certainly paid off. I committed to it. I will say this, because I had already made the decision on the front end that the pain of not doing it was greater. our first video, you can go look it up on our channel on YouTube. It's of the Woodlands. It's still ranked the #1 video on the Woodlands, and it was the first video we ever posted. So if you go to YouTube, type in the Woodlands, Texas, it pops up. The first half of that video is pretty cringy. Even by the second half, I had just kind of forgotten it. I hit my stride. I got comfortable. I think my tip for anybody looking to get on camera is be yourself. I probably spent the first 6 months maybe thinking I needed to be something else on camera. And after a while, what I realized from the feedback that I got was people were reaching out because I was me. And I also thought, too, that being polarizing on camera was bad in a really politically correct climate. I think there's a lot of stigma and fear that's just ingrained in people that you can't say certain things. And what I realized is actually, as long as it's your authentic, true self, who cares if it's polarizing, as long as it's not, hurting anyone else. Be polarizing because you'll attract your people. YouTube will go out, it will attract your people for you, and it certainly has. And just a quick example is people move to Texas for a very specific reason: low taxes, better housing affordability, political climate.
Right.
They saw what happened during COVID. Once I started speaking to the heart things that people had on camera, that's when everything started to change. That's when our phones started to blow up because we really had something to offer that people were looking for, and I was the only one communicating that. And so once I got my voice out there on camera and kind of got over that obstacle, man, it was a magnet for people. They were like, whoa, that exists there? You're telling me y'all didn't shut down during COVID? Businesses flourished during COVID? I want to be there. And that was just kind of a hook. So now I'm not intentionally divisive, but I'm certainly honest about our climate here in Texas.
Really good. I'm going to point something out and define it a little bit further because we've had many conversations and I've shared my respect and honor. That's anything in what I do is certainly I'm the coach, but the teacher is ever the student, and being around people like you make me better. What I want to point out to you, ladies and gentlemen, was when he talks about the pain of not doing it was greater than doing it, and knowing Kyler, and why he's done so well. It wasn't just about income; it was about what he wanted to create as a life for his family. And so I need you to know that a lot of time in these podcasts, we can get, and it can go a lot of different ways, you guys, whether you're watching this or listening to it, we can go strategic and tactical, but if you don't have something underneath that just tugs at your heart, and I just know genuinely that's who Kyler is. So if you've got a pain of doing something, I want you to go to the pain of something personal that you would miss out on or you would not deliver on, because I know that that's the key piece there. I want to point that out. We've given you guys a little bit of a teaser. We're going to, at the end of this, we're going to go a little bit deeper into, and Kyler's he's just such a contributor, talk to you a little bit more about YouTube. He's got a YouTube course out there that some of the top team leaders in North America have gone through and are implementing on. You can find it at youtubemachine.com. A as an apple, youtubemachine.com. We're going to come back and go a little bit deeper with as much as we can get you to share to help them out. But talk about this though. You were this solo agent and decided to grow the business. Talk about recruiting. What was your value proposition? What were your activities that you did or didn't have to do when you decided to start recruiting?
That is a great question because, we are full swing 2024. We've got 3 levers we want to pull on. We were looking at our numbers and we realized if we do 3 things, we can double our business 3 separate times. If we double our leads, all things the same, we'll double our business. If we double our agent count, all things the same, we'll double our business. And then the last one that I would expect coaches to push back on, but knowing what I know, I think we can do it. I think we can double our actual conversion rate based off what we had this year, based off what I know we were working with early on. So I'll tell you this, a really weird position to be in that I don't know people watching this, if you can relate to this, because I never thought I'd be in this position. Have you ever had something too good to be true and people just aren't buying it? It's just too good to be true. I'm telling you right now, I couldn't recruit to save my life when we were starting this thing. Everyone is so comfortable where they're at and they're so afraid of change. And I would go up to people and I'd be like, I'm telling you, here's my follow-up boss. These are the exact people. Here are their price points. I'm going to assign you this exact person. I just need you to work it at this split. And they come in like clockwork every single day. And I'm going to give them to you. I don't even want to work them. Can you work these leads for me? Oh man, I really don't know. I just think I'm really happy with my office over here at blank brokerage. I'm like, your office? Does your office give you leads? Well, no, but I got a referral one time from our referral network, and I just really think I'll probably get two more this year. I'm like, oh my God. So, anyways, it was an uphill battle. You work with what you got, right? So early on, I was fortunate enough to have like two or three what I would say pretty good producing agents that I could work with that were doing, $2-3 million a year in sales volume. And Mike's a great example. We took him from 3 million last year to 13 million this year. We gave him 17 deals he was able to close. And look, not throwing him under the bus, it could have been a lot better. I mean, we did an audit at the end of the year. He had 23, like not just give up, like 23 missed opportunities. Like we calculated the revenue on that. Like it was nowhere near where it could have been. And so there were a lot of growing pains in this. But like I said, a weird problem to have in the recruiting was just getting people on board. I think too is this evolves. A lot of people, you and others say, you recruit for the leads, they come for the leads, they leave for the leads. I've heard that before. I want to say we've created an environment where it would be really difficult to leave, at least right now. It's just not better anywhere else currently. I just know it. I mean, when you're given 100 active buyers that are real buyers wanting to work with you, it's really hard to leave. So I know we'll cross that bridge eventually as we scale up. But I was like, you know what? Early days, I do need to recruit for the leads because that was our value proposition. There was no structure behind the brokerage. There wasn't great training. Ultimately, what we had was opportunity. And so we've switched the word, John, and I think it's really important as we've scaled and grown. We don't offer leads anymore. We offer opportunity because, my goal is not to be a one-trick pony. So I think what I realized with YouTube was, man, it's really easy to grow a business, or it's easier to grow a business if you have the business there day one, right? And with YouTube, when you had the leads, we had the business. And so really now we needed the right people to plug it in. But what was cool was as long as our splits were good and the leads were there and we converted at a certain rate, the revenue was there day one. And it made it easier for me to make predictable business decisions, hiring decisions. And so now, we've got 6 people on staff. Our overhead is significantly higher than I thought it would be. But I would argue we're still running really lean. But I was able to use that revenue up front to put really good people in place. So we've got a full-time director of operations, our integrator, who's amazing. We've got a full-time office manager. We've got a full-time ISA now. We've got 2 videographer editors. And then, like I said, we're at 20-something agents, and I think we'll be at 40, 45 by next year. We're bringing on 4 this month that have already said yes to us. And now we're recruiting to a different value proposition. We're different than we were when we started. Now we have more than leads. We've got what I would argue we had the privilege of being an independent brokerages. We went out and shopped categorically for what we thought was the best in the marketplace. So for the best CRM, we decided Follow Up Boss was the best for what we wanted to do. For the best backend, for what we wanted to do, we picked Brokerment. For the best marketing, we went out and contracted with a design firm called Maxa that's like a white label marketing template that's connected to the MLS. So now we have actual offerings. Now I've dedicated more time to training agents. So we're recruiting to different things. So we used YouTube to launch the brokerage. But what I constantly tell our agents is YouTube is not the brokerage. Mm-hmm. We're using this machine, this lead gen machine, internally in-house to give us the margins that other people using Zillow don't have. And what I realized with our splits is, these teams we can build twice as fast because if they're taking 60% off of, the 3%, well, they're giving 30 to Zillow. We're keeping all 60 with a fixed cost associated with video production with exponential growth. And so when we put all that together, I was like, we've got the margins to actually mess up. Like I said, our conversion rate can double this year. We've had that cushion. We've had the cash in the bank. Me staying in production too, I think there was something to that. I think I'd love to theoretically be out of production for the sake of giving back, but I've had to stay in production to generate, $600,000 of revenue to make sure that I can sleep at night. I'm not worried if we're going under, And so
a lot of people, Tyler, here's what's interesting. There's a lot of people jumping back into production too that are now thinking, maybe I should have stayed there.
Well, and for me, as I mentioned, I had those panic attacks a couple years ago, right? So for
I
me,
and I laughed. I've gone through it. We can
oh, I
talk
bet. No,
about
I don't know many people
the
that are,
worst.
if you're operating at a high level and you haven't had a panic attack,
A liar.
I'd imagine you have prescription drugs. That's where I'm at. So, but on that, one more thing, your value propositions. Here's what I would say is
Okay.
now we recruit differently. Now recruit, we have a culture now, and I knew culture was important, but I didn't understand what it looked like until you have an organization and you start to see a culture forming. You don't realize the importance of it, but I didn't realize the impact I would have on people's lives. I mean, we're literally changing people's lives. You know, you take somebody who's about to have their first kid from making 80,000 to 206 this year, and constantly pouring into them. I mean, it changes their life. And then what happens is other agents see you changing their lives. They're inspired. They come on board. And so one thing that I really wanted to avoid, and to be completely fair, as I mentioned, I've never been part of a team. And so from the outside looking in, I think I had probably a perception of teams that a lot of people do, where if you're a small team, it's your name on it. Everybody else kind of trickles, bottom feeds off of the top guy. And if there's deals, then great, the bottom people feed. But if there's not, then the top hoards it. And then there's high turnover, and that's just to be expected. And we're just going to, recruit to, but kind of that Navy SEAL stage where you're constantly turning people over. And I just didn't, and there's cattiness and how leads are assigned. I just didn't want any of that culture issue. And so I was really thoughtful and intentional on the front end, having had that when we started our brokerage in Austin. I was 24. I was the competing, owner of the company, but I was in the same pods trying to get Zillow leads from my agents, right? I was trying to, and it just created conflict. And I was like, I don't want to deal with that headache. And so when we built this, it's been really cool. We have a culture of abundance, and you have the privilege of having that when you have abundance. When it's like, hey man, don't worry, next lead's coming to you. Oh, it just came in. Here you go. It's a good way to avoid that. But I've also made sure that if that ever changes down the road, that my messaging to our agents is, look, I absolutely discriminate on who these leads go to. They're going to go to who I personally believe is the best person to close that deal based off multiple, factors: geographic competency, personality, price point, all of the above. And at the end of the day, we're constantly looking at who's performing at the highest level, and we're gonna reward opportunity to those people. And so that's our culture. That's what people are getting recruited to. So now when they come on board, they're not guaranteed leads. And that's what I wanted to get to, the long-winded version. Now they're recruited to the culture, to the brokerage, to the promise that our commitment is to reinvest a lot of our, revenue into new opportunities, whether it's in-house pay-per-click. We want to control everything in-house. And that's kind of what we're trying to build here after having a lead gen engine in-house and realizing that the margins are incredible and that you actually have time to fail because the margins are there. You're not constantly worried, like if, we're spending $10,000 a month on Zillow. If we don't convert at this rate, it's a wash. We wasted our time. I think we're probably going to go to pay-per-click. We're probably going to go to a couple other things that, quite frankly, I've kind of seen people on your stages performing at a really high level. And I forget exactly who it was, but somebody doing pay-per-click at the Maverick, our numbers were pretty similar, which was interesting in terms of what they were able to generate through pay-per-click and us through YouTube. No brainer for me, Jason. Let's get it going. Let's double. So we're recruiting to the culture now and to the brokerage. And what I realized too, with a lot of your help is, getting out of that Navy SEAL stage solves a lot of problems for us because, one, what's happened recently is what's funny is, that agent that we took from 3 million to 13 million did exactly what you said he was going to do. And after winning top producer award, came back and wanted to renegotiate splits, thought that they were the value in it. And having them only sold 4 sphere deals this year and 17 of their deals were from us. I mean, I was like, are you blind? Nicely. And so, but what we're able to do is we're able to recruit more talent in that's kind of shaping him and going, oh, okay, that's what talent looks like. Okay, that's what work, and really not just talent, that's what work ethic looks like. And that's the other thing we've learned in recruiting is like, you don't need experience. I can work with somebody that shows up before I do, leaves after I do, logs all of their calls, sends all of their texts. I can teach you real estate. I can't teach you that. And that's what we learned with our ISA, who just honestly, he just showed up one day. I don't, he worked down the hall at a freight brokerage and had his real estate license. And he would call every day from like 8 to 4 for this guy. And then he'd go home with his own data with no training, watching YouTube videos. And he'd call from 4 to 7 p.m. every night, setting appointments for himself that he didn't know how to take. And after coming by our office for 3 weeks, it's like, all right, we're just going to hire you. You're relentless. And he's completely changed our business so far. So
It's really good. A couple pieces along the way. So can illustrate, how long ago was it where you were the solo agent? Was that 2 years ago? How long ago was that?
I think it was, I mean, yeah, time flies. I think that, so we launched our first video March of 2022. So we're about 1 3/4 years into that. So I would say I was an independent agent exactly 2 years ago. And yeah, I would say that's a fair point. Technically, I had a fake team. I had one buyer's agent that he never did anything. So I had a fake team for like a year, didn't know what that was, provided no value, was at a different brokerage. So no, I mean, I was a solo agent. He did no production. So yeah, I was an independent
Well,
agent.
let's go into this because I want people to hear this trajectory of possibilities because
Yeah,
at the recording of this, we're sitting here on January 4th, and it's a time where people are they're coming off maybe most people, and no judgment to it, they're coming off a really, really tough year. You're not
yeah.
coming off a tough year. You're coming off a growth year, and I want people to hear this trajectory. So really, and today you're hitting at about 20 agents ish, right?
Yeah.
Um, and most of them were recruited in 23, would you say?
Yeah, and some of them more on the backside. I mean, we've had a lot of agents come on in the past 6 months. Like I said, it was hard to recruit early on. Now it's been agents are recruiting agents. They're like, hey, like, yeah, anyways, I'm long-winded.
Really good. So I want you guys to hear this too. Okay. This is where I always tell people I never want to take over the interview. So many times I'm on podcasts or I watch a podcast, it's like the interviewer sets it up so they can be the interviewee. But there's some points I want you guys to get because the most important thing I know for Kyler and for myself is we want you guys to get value. You can't sell culture. People have to experience it. And here's what he's telling you. The best way for people to experience it is doing such a great job with the human beings you have that they go out and let people know. They are your best recruiters. I mean, it's tough. Certainly you want people, there was a time where, Kyler had to create and still will and still does create that experience of himself, but there's nothing more powerful than people that are having the experience and extending the experience. The other thing I want you guys to know too is as I opened up, we talk about 400% growth. So listen to this. In a year where the trajectory of the business is down, okay, the bulk of these agents, almost all of them brought in 23, people move the money, okay, and he's gone from being 100%. And it was funny because he was, before we came on live, I'm still this percentage of the business. I'm like, in the back, I'm like, dude, relax. What percentage of the business did you do in 23? Was it
Did I
20,
do in
40%?
2023? Yeah, I only did 25% of the
So
business.
watch this, you guys. He went from 100% of the business. So I need you to plug all these things together. Okay, listen to all the things that he's shared, the path he's gone down, the choices he's made. And in a year, he went from being 100% of the business to being 20, 25, let's say 25%. So we're not, underestimating. 1/4 of the business in 1 year, and his business grew 400%. People move the money.
Yeah.
But listen to how he's doing it. Here's the other thing I want you guys to do too. His numbers he's sharing, I think he's pretty conservative. Let me tell you why. Because like you just pointed out, he hasn't even seen the ROI on
No,
these human beings he's brought in. I
no,
mean,
no. Yeah,
come on.
let me touch on that.
Yes.
Here's what blows my mind. So that production, that $84 million, 95% of it was 7 agents in production. Out of that, I would say like I said, we had 1,200 active buyers come through our YouTube channel last year, which blows my mind. We were scrambling to get them to agents in a timely manner, the right way, get the calls. I mean, we were scrambling. That's 7 agents. going into 2024, a couple things that happened. One, we only closed, I think closing, we had leases and stuff, but actual closed buyer transactions, I think it was around like 65, 70 buyer closings for all of that from YouTube specifically. The brokerage had Sphere deals, stuff like that too. But out of those, that's only like 5% of the leads that we received. Well, a lot of them are 6 to 12 months out. So we've got 1,200 buyers going into this year that we have teed up in our follow-up boss telling us are going to go pending. We already have, $300,000 in pending GCI going into the next year. Our channel's exponential growth. So we're at 16,600 subs now. It's growing exponentially. I expect we'll probably we should get significantly more than 1,200 leads going into next year. We're going to be operating with 3 times the agents going into next year. I think we're going to be operating with 3 times the efficiencies and systems, going into next year. So I'm like, you pinned it. I'm very conservative. I'm like, Jason, do you think I can buy a car? Do you think I can, I really want to join this country club. I'm like, you think I can do this? He's like, yeah, you can do that. I was like, I don't know, man. And so, I told him my goal, and I'll leave it out of this, what I want to make next year. He's like, what do you want to make? I was like, I mean, I don't know, probably this. He's like, bump it up, dude. Set your goals bigger. I was like, all right, I'll set my goals bigger. So look, it's not written in the stars. We have to put in the work, but I think those numbers, that 84 million was primarily, 8 agents actually producing. And so as we go into this next year, I'm kind of excited. I think we'll have like a core, out of those 20 agents, maybe 15 of them really working those YouTube leads at the start of the year. And then by the end of the year, we'll recruit from within. Because I mean, John, this sounds crazy. We're just getting like standards in place for people to follow. We're just getting like, hey, this is the frequency you need to call people at. So we hired our ISA about a month ago, and he went in and did lead audits. And I said, look, here's exactly how you do them. Go in through all 1,200 leads individually, agent by agent, see who they're assigned to. I want you to calculate all the missed opportunities. I want you to, for moving forward, accountability looks like not just telling people what they need to do, it's telling them what they need to do, seeing if they've been doing it, making notes of everything that they haven't done, then telling them what they haven't done and what they need to do, and then following up 2 days later to make sure they've done it. I was like, that is the through line of accountability for these agents. They haven't had it this whole year, and we did 84 million. They have had 0 accountability. So what does accountability look like? And just in calculating the missed opportunities alone, our revenue last year should have been double easily. That's how painful it is. That's why I think we can get that converted.
Well, I'll give you bad news. I mean, you're a great leader, and listen, I've been proven wrong. If there's an outlier there that can prove me wrong, it would be you, would be my prediction. But you just wait till you get bigger and you start doing the math. Here's the good news about getting bigger, more opportunities. Here's the bad news about getting bigger. The amount of millions of dollars.
John, one agent, that our top producing agent, who like I said, he'll make like $206,000 this year. I think his sales volume was around 13 million. We calculated the cost. Now, obviously, look, you're not going to close every lead. These leads are very good. Like when I tracked the conversion, I was like, there's no way it shouldn't be at 15% for these leads, 20%, whatever it was. And it's also tough to track because we have incoming leads, like the life cycle. We haven't done it long enough to track like a true conversion. I think that's kind of difficult to do right now. I could probably use your help on that. But anyways, his missed opportunities alone was like 400,000 in GCI at least. So
yeah, I'll hit you up after, because I want to we'll do some texting over the next couple of days. I'll share with you, because you know how, what was it, January 2nd? I did 25 coaching calls, and so I'm getting the real time stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll hit you up as you're establishing that stuff, and we'll talk about the things that I'm seeing for you to really, really hone in on, because a lot of times what happens is there's overwhelm. And if I can get you just on the key things, it's like agents are trying to figure out what what scorecard do I need to get scores on?
No.
Get you dialed in. I'll share with you real time, but let's do this in the appreciation of your time, and we'll do this again for sure. Share with us. I want to remind everyone, everything that you're hearing, certainly it is his work ethic. It is his values as a human being. Again, I have, and there's work ethic, there's values as a human being, but there's commitment too. What I've watched over the 2 years that I've known Kyler is he's sincere, he's real, but most importantly, that human experience for him and his family, but also those that come to work with him. Um, but it, the YouTube thing has been a fabulous foundation for you. It's proven, it's tested. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go to aayoutubemachine.com. You can jump right in. My top clients who I say is, humbly and very graciously, my top team leaders in the world have jumped into this. But with that said, let's do this. And maybe it's more than three. I don't want to limit it, but three's the easy. What would be three things that you would share with people? And if there's four, whatever, three simple things before we wrap up, you would share with someone to do to get their YouTube on the right path. And it may be, because I heard this from you too, shut down the page and start a new one, but I don't know. What do you think are the three things? Or if there's more, let us know.
Yeah, I tend to be an all-in person. So you and Dan have kind of actually given me a different lens to answer this question through. I'm like, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to do it at the highest possible level. We're going to spend a bunch of money. We're going to go all in on it. Most people aren't that way. And so with respect to that and kind of learning that, I think if I kind of stepped back, knowing what I know now, everyone says to do video. Nobody really tells you how to do video the right way. And you can be great on video. You can do a lot of things, but if you don't get it in front of the right person at the right time, in the right way, man, you're just missing so much. And so if I can hit one, the first point into you, it's, man, you have to deliver. I mean, John, you're always saying deliver good value to the marketplace in 2024. That's your goal, right? Well, for me, when you said that, I was like, oh, I'm actually already doing that. That's what I've been doing. That's what's making me a lot of money, is delivering the right value to the right person at the right time in the right place. And so while video is good, going back to a question you asked me earlier, was I scared to get on video? I actually started a YouTube channel before I started this YouTube channel. And let me speak to that really quick. Like most of you, I said, I know I need to do it. Okay, it's a new year. I'm going to do it. Okay, what do I have at my disposal? Well, my brokerage actually had a little studio that nobody uses. They just threw it up in hopes with zero training, like most organizations. They're like, I bet somebody will use it. All right, now go do. The broker says, go do it. And then nobody does it. And then because the broker doesn't know how to do it. And then nobody does it. And then they're like, all right, let's turn that studio back into an office, right? That's what happens. So anyways, I went in there. I filmed a couple videos thinking I knew what people wanted. And I filmed the most boring videos I could have possibly filmed. And here's what I thought people wanted to know about. I thought people wanted to know about real estate. I thought people wanted to know the details. I thought if I could articulate that I knew something that they didn't, that would somehow spark in them, oh, he's the guy, I'm going to call him. Nobody's watching a video on property taxes. Maybe a few are. Nobody's watching a video on homestead exemption. Maybe a few are. But the chances of you getting that video in front of the right person at the right time for them to call you, it's just not going to convert. And if you're talking about things that move the needle, that convert, it took me knowing the right strategy for, like I said, how to get the right content in front of the right people in the right place at the right time. And YouTube checked all of those boxes. But you can't just post to YouTube. Like I said, I had a channel before that generated 0 leads for me. What I didn't post consistently, so it was sporadic. There wasn't a brand behind it, so nobody knew what it was. It wasn't optimized, so my videos weren't reaching the right people. There is a level of understanding you need to know and you need to commit to. I'm not saying you have to do it at the level we do it at, but you have to at least say, hey, I'm going to try and spend 10 minutes optimizing my video with the right keywords, the right hashtags, all of that stuff to get my video in front of the right people. Otherwise, and I've said this, speaking at some of these events, John, as a competitor, not as a friend to y'all, right? But as a competitor to people in my marketplace, nothing gives me greater joy than watching people finally muster up the courage to get a video going and they post it and they don't optimize it. It flails, they lose their confidence and they walk off. At least in my marketplace, sorry, that's what I want, but for everybody watching this, and even if you're in my marketplace, call me, would love you to join us. But if you are, here's what I'll say, man, you got to do it right. I mean, you really have to do it right. You don't have to do it at the level we do it at, but there's a right way to do it. And it comes down to, and we go into it in the course, there's really 6 pillars to YouTube. And without spending too much time, there's the strategy, which is what I'm talking about here. You've got to have the right strategy. And I'll walk you through that. And just to tell you it in one sentence, the strategy on YouTube is to rank #1 for your suburbs or keywords that people are actually typing in. And so that's the strategy. You want to have quality in video production. Like video quality is important. And so doing the little things like having microphones, that stuff moves the needle. Content quality. So there's production quality, there's content quality, which is what are you putting out? Like I said, nobody wants to hear about tax rates. You know what? Here, I'm going to tell you exactly what people want to know about. People want to know about these areas. People want to see the trees. People want to know that there's a Home Goods that you can ride your golf cart to in your neighborhood. There's a Home Goods. I can ride a golf cart there. It's legal. I'm not going to get pulled over. And there's a pool for my kids. Honey, we're moving here. And it's conservative or whatever it is, or the public schools are great. They're rated well. People want to know about what moves the needle in their hearts. Property tax doesn't move the needle in their hearts. What moves the needle in their hearts is the lifestyle they can envision for their families. And we're not showing them something that's fake. We're showing them something real. But just so you know, video in 2024, if you're making videos, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, show people what it could be like to live somewhere else in an accurate way. And the people that want to live there will reach out to you. The trick is, the reason I think you posted on YouTube is because that's where people are looking. It's video Google. People are typing in my suburbs, your suburbs. And even if you're in a place where people are moving away from, people are still moving there, 100%. Maybe it's a 5-to-1 ratio. There's still a lot of people moving there. So don't give yourself that excuse. And then optimization is one of the pillars, making sure, like I said, you're optimized. And then consistency and frequency is a huge one. I mean, this is going to be the one most people struggle with the most, is just committing to it and actually doing it, right? We're on day 4 of January. John, you'll be proud of me. I'm on day 4 of posting copy to my Facebook. Haven't missed a day yet.
Good, man. And you're such a great writer, man.
So I'm just appreciate it. So, but I'm going to just, I'm going to keep creating value to the marketplace and finding my voice. And I was speaking to our agents yesterday about finding their voice. They're like, they go, how do I find my voice? I go, you speak. That's how you find your voice. You say something dumb, but you start and you speak and then you hear it back. And guess what? You find your voice on camera too. You watch it back. You go, I need to smile more. I need to pause. I need to add inflection. I need to get this lighting better so that my eyes don't look like I have bags under them because I'm actually not tired. So, I got to kick my head up, or you can read Titleist. It's all these things that are in here from being on camera that you think about. So anyways, that's pretty much it. And then the last of the 6 pillars is conversion, right? Which hopefully I don't have to teach people that component, but there is a through line, and having YouTube has opened my eyes up to, the things that I want to put my money into. So John, real quick, do we have time for one more thing?
Yeah, you bet. I got 5 minutes.
Okay, let me wrap up with this. Doing YouTube at a high level has completely opened my eyes up to the fact that the way I view YouTube, I can view other lead gen sources now. And I was you might be that really conservative agent who is selling 50 homes a year and has still never even spent $1 on mailers because you're scared to let go of $1,000 to see if somebody will call you back. That was me, John. I just believe so much in YouTube that I said, now's the time. I think this can do it. So it's important for me when I'm looking at my marketing efforts to evaluate, and it's difficult. You could probably convince me otherwise, but using YouTube shows me that I can actually calculate putting $1 in, getting 5 back. And so now I don't look at any marketing effort if I can't trace that through line of, here's the strategy, here's where the dollar goes, here's what I create, here's how it intersects the client, here's the message they hear, here's how they contact me, here's our system and formula for getting them from here to closing, from contact to closing. That's so down now in YouTube that I look at everything that way. And so it's really opened my eyes up as you're thinking about doing video. Look, you're going to learn as you go. Like I said, the margins were there for us to fail. We didn't get it perfect, but we did have a strategy day 1 on YouTube with this channel. You have to use and look, realistically, just to be blunt, there's not really more than 2 strategies on YouTube to get clients. and we teach both of them. So yeah, there's really only two. And so I would just say, look, if you're committed to it, don't waste your time. I wasted my time on my first channel. It didn't work. I didn't waste my time on my next channel. It worked.
So, real quick, Tyler, what is your company website so that if anyone wants to reach out to you, send referrals your way, what is the business website?
Yeah, so the business website is ferrisrealty.com. That's my last name. It's Ferris. Yeah, Ferris Realty. Um, Best way to reach out is just find me on Facebook, Kyler Ferris. Send me a DM. Would love to hear from you. Through these events, John, and speaking, I've been able to connect with a lot of really cool people. And I'm a busy guy like most of us, but I was talking to Mark, one of the guys from your conference yesterday. He called me about a deal here in Galveston, and we were chatting about it. So
Good.
there's plenty of opportunities for us to connect. And Matt Smith hopped on a Zoom and shared stuff with me last week about how I could be better. Just a one-on-one 20-minute Zoom. And so yeah, just the level of connection. Feel free to reach
Oh,
out to me. I'm not promising a 4-hour Zoom with you, but
oh,
I'm promising
okay.
that I'll point you in the right direction and help out however I can.
Good. And then one final piece. You guys have heard a story, proven and tested, and he's opened up his playbook. You can go to aayoutubemachine.com, Apple, A as an Apple, YouTubemachine.com, and you can jump in immediately and get on a trajectory that he's on, or maybe your business is, even beyond that. What I've watched is the top performers, 500 million, a billion. We're all top performers. We're just in different phases, coming back into saying, wait a minute, that's an element I was missing. Kyler, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.